All right, Saagar, what are you looking at?
Well, like it or not, Twitter is the place that elites are. Twitter's the place the conversation is set. It's where most journalists are 24 hours a day. It is the place that news breaks, it is interpreted, it is observed, iterated on, and more. It has spawned revolutions, social movements, and many controversies. Some real, some imagined. But that's life in the 21st century. In a relatively free society, on balance, we are 100% better off having a platform and the ability to publish pretty much anything for public consumption because it goes around the corporate news media. And the corporate news bosses, they know that. That's why over the last 5 years, they have undertaken a concerted campaign to browbeat, capture, and persuade the people in charge of Twitter, Facebook, and elsewhere that it's their job to censor. And not just censor, but to censor exactly what the mainstream media tells them to. It's a win-win. The corporate media keeps their monopoly on information. The social media companies, they don't have to deal with bad headlines. The only problem is the rest of us suffer. Some could say, well, just don't use Twitter, but we can't. Our job here at Breaking Points is to surface and explain the most important news right now in the country to you. That requires us being where the news is, which is Twitter, which is why the policies of Twitter, the new CEO, and how they think, it all matters a lot. It's why I'm greatly dismayed at the new choice of Parag Agarwal, who on his very first day as CEO showed us why he should not have that job. Agarwal, for context, is the former chief technology officer of Twitter. By all accounts, he's a nerdy engineering type, which is fine, but here's the problem. Twitter does not have any engineering problems. Their problem is they need to figure out what the hell they are in the 21st century. Are they free speech wing of the free speech party as they once were? How will they deal with Trump when he runs again in 2024? What exactly does bullying and harassment mean? Does private power have the ability to usurp public will? These are philosophical, political questions. They do not require ones and zeros. In my experience, the engineering types like this who don't have a clue are always the ones who are most easily pushed around by the woke mob because they have no grounding in critical thinking over big political questions. We already knew this was going to be a problem, as Agarwal gave an interview exactly 1 year ago when he explicitly said it is not Twitter's job to be bound by the First Amendment, that instead he was focused on harm reduction. That is social justice mindset already seeped in. Once that mind virus is inside you, it takes a lot to purge it. And sure enough, on Agarwal's very first day, he showed us why he has no business. Twitter announced that going forward, it would no longer allow the sharing of private media, such as images or videos of private individuals without their consent. Specifically, they say that this policy is to fight harassment or intimidation of private individuals, but they add an important caveat. They will take into consideration whether an image is publicly available and is being covered by journalists, or if a particular image adds value to public discourse and is in the public interest. Okay, there it is. Consider how dystopian that is. Some images of private individuals will be allowed, but Twitter will decide if they are in the public interest or not. Look, I actually get the impetus behind this policy. Do I enjoy these videos that people take of people in public and then post them online? No, I don't. I actually think they're terrible. But consider the edge cases. What about George Floyd's death? Videos from the scene of Kyle Rittenhouse, Philando Castile's murder, Amy Cooper wanting to call the cops. Which one of those is in the public interest? I'm going to err on the side of all of them. And I for damn sure don't want the woke mob at Twitter deciding which one stays up and which one stays down. It is clear nobody at Twitter even thought about this. Their language for justifying this is that harassment is usually used against activists, which is actually kind of hilarious because we know that the annoying woke activists are the kings and the queens of filming themselves being obnoxious and making a scene in public. But look, it's a free country. They should be allowed to, just as it should be allowed to do so for someone filming them. That's the point. When you leave all this up to the discretion of a bunch of people who have shown us before with the Hunter Biden laptop story that they can't be trusted and will be partisan in their enforcement over legitimate journalism, we have to say, screw you. It is why it is so dangerous that Agarwal has already said he has no binding to the First Amendment, even its spirit, that all he cares about is, quote, harm reduction. Remember what every grade school kid is taught. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. Now, maybe you guys think I'm making too much about this, but remember the Arab Spring was literally launched after a man self-immolated and images went viral on Twitter. The last power of a dissident in an increasingly unfree society is the ability to go around the center of power. That's why the internet, at its most promising, was supposed to be. And it's been taken away from us one by one. I'm singling out Twitter, but it's been a long and dark road here. A friend of mine actually pointed out the point of having principle and a standard is to make it so that it's easier to deal with edge cases and really dark stuff. Consider Holocaust denial, which of course is repugnant. Well, it was held up by Mark Zuckerberg for years as something that embodied free speech that he was going to allow on the platform and he would not get involved. And in October 2020, poof, oops, he just reversed it himself, despite bragging about it 3 years earlier. The moment you retreat from a standard of the First Amendment, you allow more exceptions, woke and unwoke, to creep in, the more censorship that you invite in the long run. They will never stop at just one. It's why our laws are written the way that they are, and it's why the prevalence of this mindset at the very top of these companies, combined with people who really haven't thought very hard about what their technology means in a free and open society, is a road to disaster. I've never been more convinced than I am today that we're on the precipice of probably one of the worst times in American politics. You might have thought that Trump leaving the stage made things calmer. I think his return, or whatever successor will be, will only accelerate things towards even more dystopian levels of censorship, freakouts, and social movements. It will have long-lasting consequences, and we will be less free than ever as a result. You said this actually after January 6th, Crystal. You said we can be a free society or we can be a...
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching.
That's right. Just as a reminder, you can become a premium subscriber today. Watch the full show completely uncut, our reactions to each other's monologues. You get to listen to it. You get to ask us questions, all that good stuff. Link is right there in the description or at breakingpoints.com.
Best of all, great way to say screw you to the mainstream media.